First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not paying for my daughter's wedding after she went no contact with me? I paid college tuition for all three of my kids, 27 female, 29 female, 32 male, because I have the money and I wanted to. My older two studied computer science while my youngest one decided to study fashion design. I wasn't really supportive about the fashion design degree at first and tried to warn my daughter that the job prospects for it wouldn't be that great, but she was insistent that that was what she wanted to study, so I paid approximately $60,000 for her to get her degree. However, afterwards, she struggled finding a job in her field, and once she did find, didn't pay well, so she came back to me and asked me to help her get another degree. I told her I could help her take out a loan, but I wasn't paying. It caused a lot of problems between us and she went no contact. She ended up going to community college part-time while working as a server with the help of her boyfriend. I helped my older two pay for their weddings, and my youngest daughter recently got engaged. She started talking to me and her mom again, and we were excited about the wedding. However, she started planning for things way out of her budget that her older sister/brother were able to have at their weddings. Her mom and I were worried that this wedding would not be good for her financially and decided to talk to her about it. My younger daughter told us she thought we would pay for most of it and was planning on having a high-end wedding close to what my older two had. My wife and I told her we were not going to drop $30,000 to pay for her wedding after she went years of no contact with us. Furthermore, my older two paid for most of their own weddings. We just pitched in about $5,000 for each of them. They both make good money, well into the six-figure range. My younger one got super angry with us and complained how it wasn't fair that her siblings got better things than she did and said we were playing favorites. Am I the a-hole for not paying for her wedding? Now for the top comments. Unfortunately, it sounds like she may have only tried to mend things so you'd foot the bill for her wedding. Not the a-hole. I was thinking the same thing while reading this. She only got back in contact with Opie just before wedding planning to make it seem like she wanted a relationship, but in reality, she wanted a wedding she couldn't afford and Opie can. It's also pretty baffling to me that she just assumed Opie was paying without even asking first. She thinks she's entitled to Opie's money. How does Opie know that she wouldn't go no contact again after the wedding? Or go no contact at any point in time when she asks Opie for money and Opie doesn't give it to her? Hopefully, if she ever has kids, she doesn't use them also as pawns to get money. If Opie doesn't stop her entitlement now, then who knows how far or how long this cycle will go on. Yeah, it looked pretty sketchy from what was said in the post, as it seems she got engaged, proceeded to get back in touch with Opie, and then ask them to pay for a wedding. Just doesn't quite sound right. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're being totally fair. Give her the $5,000 or whatever you spent on the other kids, and don't lose any sleep over it. If you do more than that, then you are not being fair to the older kids. Exactly. It's not favoritism if you've contributed an equal amount of all three. If she cuts contact again because of this, it's probably because she initiated contact solely for the purpose of funding her wedding anyway. Either way, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Sounds like she only initiated contact due to wanting money for wedding. I'd contribute the same $5,000 so that you continue to treat them equally. If the youngest can't deal with that, her problem. She sounds a bit self-entitled. Keep doing what you are doing, Dad. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out my hen party? Okay, so I'm 25 now. I got married last year, pre-COVID, and it was a perfect wedding. What wasn't so perfect was my hen party, bachelorette party. My small friend group planned it, and all I said was no strippers of any kind. It makes me personally uncomfortable, and I don't want them at my party. Fast forward to my hen party and everything's fine. We're at a club in my hometown and all of a sudden the music stops and someone starts talking through the speakers. I ignored it until they said my name, and I froze. I see this man walk towards me in a police costume, and I saw red. My friends booked a male stripper after I told them not to. He tried to handcuff me, but I pulled my hands away, but he continued doing his thing, taking his clothes off. I was furious. I walked out. I felt betrayed by my own friends. They did the one thing I asked them not to. I booked a taxi home and didn't speak to any of them for a while. They were spamming my phone with messages saying that I was being ungrateful and should have just enjoyed it, but I couldn't. It made me feel sick to my stomach. I get that maybe I should have just left calmly, but I was so angry and upset that I couldn't. I stormed out. My exit was a bit dramatic. But am I the a-hole for walking out? I only ask now as a Facebook memory came up for my hen party a few weeks ago. Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. You had a hard no on the stripper. That there was one there, anyway, means it was a party for you, in name only. Also, they paid someone to actually harass OP. It's not just a party thing. It's not like they put up a piñata after OP said they don't care for piñatas, or buying a cake even if OP isn't super into cake. Not the a-hole. They did the one thing you asked them not to do. Walking away was reasonable, especially since it doesn't sound like the performer realized you weren't into it at all. Right? It's not that hard to honor your friends' wishes for no strippers at their hen party. I have plenty couple for friends, and if they set hard limits on things they did or did not want, I made it happen. The party is to honor the bride, not to make her uncomfortable. OP, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Need to digress to tell this completely unrelated story. So I go visit, just me and my boyfriend, an aunt and an uncle in Chicago when I'm around 17 so I can see a concert and hang out with my aunt and uncle. At some point in the night, they're reminiscing about funny times with my mom and dad. They start talking about this time everybody got my mom a stripper for her 30th birthday. Suddenly, they realize they actually have this all on film on a VHS tape. They dig it out. So my mom is this really headstrong woman. And when she realizes the stripper's here for her, she's totally embarrassed and obviously beside herself. The stripper forces my mom's hands around his waist and handcuffs her hands and tells her she's going to have to work her way down so he can step out and she can get free. My mom is clearly out of her mind distressed. This goes on for like 5 minutes or so, my poor mom begging to be released and just shaking her head. But suddenly, you see her face completely change. It's like when the Grinch gets an idea. She suddenly gets all calm and gets this little smirk on her face. He starts pushing her down, and when she gets to her knees, she wiggles around so she's not facing front, and she bites him. She bit his butt. The stripper audibly screams and repeatedly shouts, "She bit my butt! She bit my butt!" I promise this was no love bite. I only watched it in slow-mo like 25 times, so I feel like I know. She viciously mauls this guy's behind, like goes at it like a freaking cobra bite. No immediate release either, like a pit bull, locked jaw that one. Stripper starts panicking and freaking out, and literally leaps out of my mom's arms. Needless to say, end of dance. Now let's read the next story. Am I the a-hole for respecting my 13-year-old daughter? So, I've never used Reddit before, but my oldest daughter, who thinks I'm an a-hole, wanted me to post this. I have 4 kids and these are fake names. Rose is 29, Ben is 27, Kate is 25, and then our lovely but very much a surprised daughter, Abby, is 13. My wife wasn't a great mother, I'll be honest. She was extremely immature and I shouldn't have pressured her to have kids. She had a strained relationship, especially with Rose and Ben, but she changed around the time we had Abby. She was certainly not the worst mother, but she was incredibly awkward when they were kids, and then they clashed as teenagers. Rose is not objective though, because she has always been jealous of her mother because people compare their looks a lot when she was growing up, and she had a boyfriend who would salivate over my wife. Ben is getting married, and I'm so happy for him. They really are perfect. My wife and future daughter-in-law do not get along at all, and my wife can be catty. My wife is not invited to the wedding, which I told her was her own doing, and she better not whine about it or think she's going to stop me from going. She really doesn't care and wouldn't want to go. The relationship with Ben is worse than the other kids. Ben still wants me and all of his siblings there, but Abby is refusing to go. She said that she isn't going to play happy family while her mom is being excluded. Abby is pissed at me for going, but I told her that isn't her decision. But I absolutely respect her decision not to go. Ben is upset because he wanted a whole family and says I should force her. I said she is too old to be forced, but he said what if she declared she wasn't going to school anymore? I mean, he does have a point. Abby is still a kid, but I don't think it is right to make her go. And I think Ben has to understand the consequences because he is free to not invite his mom, but other people are free to have an opinion. Rose is the one who wanted me to post because she also thinks Abby should be forced to go. Now for the comments. Everyone sucks here, except Abby. If your daughter chooses not to go because she doesn't like her mother being excluded, that's her choice. She has no obligation to play happy family. The fact two of her siblings want to force her to go says a lot about why she doesn't want to. You're the a-hole for pressuring your wife for kids she wasn't ready for yet, and then being shocked at her less than stellar parenting skills. Your older children come off as petty as all hell. You're the a-hole. A person doesn't just cut a parent out for being catty. Something big had to have transpired in order for them to not invite your wife. I feel like there is more to this story. If it is that bad where you have taken his side, then yes, I would force the child to go. I would also have Ben and Abby sit down and talk before the wedding. I disagree. She is catty towards the bride. They haven't cut her out, and Rose and Kate are actually working on their relationships with her, but I wouldn't invite someone to my wedding if my wife expressed that they made her uncomfortable. Not the a-hole. Ben can't say he wants the whole family there while not inviting his mom. However, I think it's only fair to explain to Abby if she doesn't know why the mom isn't invited, and why it's important to Ben that Abby will be there. If she understands all of this and still doesn't want to go, it's her decision, and you should let her make this choice and explain to the other siblings that she made her choice, and that you can't force her to go, because if you do, she won't enjoy it, and make the experience worse for you and everyone else. Side note, try to make titles more objective. I understand you want people to be on your side, but you should really show the reason you might be an a-hole. I would use a title like, Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter choose not to go to her brother's wedding? Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to just deal with my mom? My husband and I just had our first child 8 weeks ago. A beautiful baby girl. After she was born, I asked my mom to come stay with us for a couple weeks to help with everything because I had a quite traumatic birth, and we are new parents. After those couple of weeks, I realized how nice it was to have an extra person to help with daily household stuff or to give one of us a break if the baby wakes up during the night. So I asked my mom to stay longer. I did this without talking to my husband about it, and pretty much just told him about it after I already asked my mom to stay. He was kind of mad about it, but I told him I was still recovering and he's just going to need to deal with my mom being here longer. I have 12 weeks of maternity leave, but my husband only had 6, so he recently went back to work. When he comes home, he will take over the baby duties, and he's great at giving her baths and getting her to sleep. It warms my heart to see how good he is with our baby girl. The problem, though, is that he shows me almost zero affection or attention. When I was pregnant, he would give me daily foot rubs and tell me how beautiful I am and how much he loves me. Now, I can barely get a good morning or good night out of him. His excuse is that he's tired from work and pretty much being on solo baby duty after he gets home. He told that he has a finite amount of energy and can't pamper me the same way anymore. The other night after the baby went to sleep, I asked him to give me a foot rub like he used to. He said he was exhausted and just wanted an hour to himself before he goes to sleep. He said I should ask my mom for a foot rub, but I said that's not the same. He told me he never gets a break between work and a baby, so I'm just going to have to deal with being lower on his priority list right now. I feel like that was a low blow to use my own words against me like that, but it got me wondering if I was an a-hole for making that decision unilaterally before. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for asking your mother to move in without consulting your husband first. It is his house too. Also, your mother helps you with the baby, and you don't work? But your husband works, then comes home to take care of the baby with no help at all? Then you ask him to rub your feet. As if he hasn't had a hard day with working and taking care of the baby with no help. Edit to add, before anyone says anything about the fact that she just gave birth, I gave birth in May and did perfectly fine with no help. Yes, it is very tiring being a mother, but that is what comes with the territory. Typically, I'm 100% team mom, but wow, this lady is an a-hole. I agree that it doesn't sound like she shares any of the baby duties when her husband gets home. Childcare is absolutely a job. It should be treated equally to her husband's out-of-the-home job, which means both of them work all day, and then share the night shift. Of course he's exhausted. And she just moved her mother in without talking to him? That's grounds for the "here's 2 business cards. One is a counselor, and the other one is a divorce lawyer. Take your pick. Move Reddit loves." What an a-hole. I'm flabbergasted at the level of a-holery here. You're the a-hole, sorry. First, making a decision that should have been made as a couple and doing it just by yourself. But info. You say your husband gave you daily foot rubs while you were pregnant and basically take care of your child solo once he gets home from work. When is the last time you gave him a foot rub or catered to him? To me, it sounds like he went from catering to you, now catering to the baby. Now you want him to do both, but who's making sure he's a top priority? Yeah, I recognize OP has healing to do, but it sounds like her husband could use some care just as much with his working as well. I am glad someone else noticed that. Your poor husband. Works all day to provide for the family, including your mom's living costs. And when he gets home, you and your mom clock off and leave him to do everything? And then you complain he is tired. You're the a-hole for days. That's what I got from this post too. When he gets home, it should be equal parenting. Not 2 people taking off and the husband doing everything. If Opie's mother moved in to help with the baby, isn't that the most opportune time for her to step in? You know, when both parents are burnt out. Then maybe that would help the parents spend a little time together to try to get their bond back. I know childbirth is tough. I'm due in March. But Opie seems to be neglecting that the father is affected by all of this as well. You're the a-hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.